All right, we are live. I think first off, we want to say shout out to Rhea. I know she would like to be here, but this is a family time. People are really busy this time of year. Generation X is also a very busy person, and he made an hour of his time to talk to us, to reach out, to discuss gaming, Amico, whatever else you want to talk about. I got Laggy Smellins here who wanted to speak with Generation X. Lots of people have become fans of you and your channel lately.
Oh,
So
thank you.
and yeah, I wasn't. I will say I wasn't immediately a fan because I took things too personally. I think from criticism, my friend Rhea, she's like, "Don't take it personally. It's not you. Stop it. Stop it. Stop.
Yeah,
But
I think a lot of good things have come out. Talking about the Amico, for me,
mhm.
there's been specifically things that we've never talked about in the gaming community. That interests me, right? That should interest everybody. I think, right? At least in my opinion, that had come out of it. But yeah, I think we should get right to it and give the people what they want. We should probably talk
Oh,
about our first point of disagreement.
okay. Well, I'll tell you when I became a fan. I also have to say, oh, thank you, Aaron. We got a member, Saggy Melons. Thank you, Saggy. I really
I
appreciate the
have to
support.
renew.
Yeah, and just so you guys know, I am an annoying e-bagger. But this next, starting tomorrow, actually, it's actually kind of cool that you're on the show today, Generation, because even though I started doing, uh, uh, things to supplement the income on YouTube, I do want to give back too. So tomorrow starts a whole month. My whole month paycheck goes to charity. We're doing Wounded Warrior and
Oh
Make a
wow,
Wish.
good for you.
Split half down the
Good,
middle. That's what
good for you.
my members have decided to do. That's the ones they wanted charities they want to do for this month. So even though I'm doing that, I
Well, I
hopefully
mean, in all fairness, let me clarify. When I say annoying e-beggar, or people who put their bills on you, right? You're
yeah.
watching them, you're watching a particular YouTuber, and then they say, "Well, I really need contributions tonight because I got to pay my light bill," or
Oh no no no.
it's some shit like that. So
Oh, I can
that's who I'm
understand.
referring to when I say e-beggar. I don't. I wouldn't deprive anybody of entering the free market. If people want to pay for a service or entertainment, that's fine. But when people manipulate, right, other people for money and make up stories,
Okay.
or that type of stuff, that's what I'm referring to when I say e-beggars.
Fair enough. No, I actually like that about you. I used to
Yeah.
be really anti e-bagger myself in that scene. But when I started to like you is when you say get my name out of your mother effing out mouth. Can I have your name in my mouth now, Generation X?
Sure, sure.
That's what I was like, yeah,
No,
this guy's
see,
fire.
I've always liked him. I've always liked him from day one because, like I said, with this topic, it's been very argumentative. People don't know each other in real life, so their first immediate thing is like, "I don't care about your feelings," right? And that's fair because that's true. We don't know each other.
Yeah.
But when me and him first got into it on Twitter, like I told him, was telling him backstage, so I'll tell everybody here. We got into it on a topic. And at first I was coming off kind of like a bitch because I'm a bitch. I'll just be honest. And he was being very calm, and I felt that vibe. And I was like, all right, maybe I can tone it down. He's not being a troll. He's not. He sounds like he does know what he's talking about. So then I approached it differently. I calmed down. I started talking to him, and I was like, he's smart. I like this guy. I checked out his channel. I saw what he was saying. I heard him, and even if I disagreed, like I said, I still like listening to you because there might be something I can take out of that, maybe something new I learned and be like, okay, that makes sense. Okay, yes, now I understand the criticism. And that's what I like about you and your content. Why I'm a fan is because as soon as you upload a video, I'm immediately like, I need to watch this. Even premieres, I don't watch premieres. As soon as you premiere a video, I'm watching because I'm like, what has he got to say about this topic? And it's educational, and it's informative, and that's the way you approach it. It doesn't come off as you're being a hater or you're being a
Oh,
fair
thank you.
critic. Right, you're being a fair critic, and
Thank
you're
you.
informative, and that's what I like. I like information. So you do that perfectly, Gen X, and that's why I've
Well,
always
a
batted for
lot of
you.
people a lot of people don't agree with you, but it's sometimes it's hard when you're criticizing somebody's work. So let me say this: I've always criticized work, right? When I've
Mm-hmm.
made any observation, it's regarding the work. Why did you do this? Why did you do that? You could have done it this other way. And I always give the solution, right? You instead of doing A, you could have done B. But probably the purpose of my channel is to empower gamers, right? Because in general, everybody's a consumer, right? We all buy video games, and that's all we do. We're just consumers. And a lot of times we complain about what these companies do. What the Amico conversation has allowed, especially talking about investments and everything else, it shows you that as a gamer, you can have power, right? If you invest in a company, X company, you can make a difference, right? If you have enough stock of any company and stockholders come together, you can actually change the direction. But a lot of people, for example, and this was myself included years ago, I might have $2,000 worth of Nintendo product and not own a single stock. And it's sometimes when you think about it, the Nintendo stock's about $55 right now for one. And you have how many games sometimes laying around that you don't play? Wouldn't you rather have 3 Nintendo stock that are going to return money to you, right, in the long term? But yeah, I mean, that's really my direction, right, or what I want to put out there.
And you do it well, I think.
Well, I first threw some small heat at you. It wasn't that bad. when I was personally offended, because I am still a fan of Tommy, and but that saying the free gift was a smack in the face. I thought that was, just to be fair, I'll be honest, my thought was like, man, this dude's a little disrespectful to this man's history. But your mindset, I believe, where you're coming from is always thinking about the consumer first.
Well, yes, but let me tell you why I said that. So,
but that's where I got a bad taste in my mouth for you originally.
If you give me some leeway here, because I've been a business owner, for example, and I've been a salesman, I've been in marketing, right? And this is a criticism of his work, and I'm sure some people are going to take it the wrong way, right? But the way that was handled so very poorly, right? Because if you remember back then, they were delaying the console again, right? Remember, they put out a statement in the middle of the night on Friday, right? And then they hit you with this free music that has nothing to do with the Amico, right? That right there told me a couple of things. One is he's micromanaging. No PR firm, no person with any experience in marketing would have told them to do that, right? Whoever made this decision didn't have experience, because this is what you could have done and made everybody happy. If you remember, at that time, nobody had talked about the games, right? We weren't talking about physical products or anything like that. What he could have done, right, or somebody could have done, if they were doing their job properly, they would have said, they would have come on camera, right, just like when they're selling you the product, because that's a big thing, right? If somebody's selling you something face to face, you want to trust that person long term, right? And you get on camera and you say, guys, we failed to meet the mission. You explain the reasons why. And at that point, what you could have said is, but as a thank you to those of you who are going to be patient with us, we're going to allow you early access to the collector's editions, not just a few, all of them. We'll grant you early access to the collector's editions by such and such date, whatever that date is going to be. And then on top of that, we'll give you a $10 discount. You would have made people happy. You wouldn't have lost any money because you planned on doing that anyway, right?
I have to be real to Tommy. Your proposed what you there would have been a lot smoother. I love Tommy, but I do think also you can't, once you say gift, it lets people's minds go crazy, and then you wait. Stop letting people build expectations that you can't meet. Just lay it all down there. One announcement would have been really good. And what you said, I think I think sometimes your specific channel, man, people think you're if they actually listen to television, and if they listen to you, I think they'd actually be more on track with their public relations. Like you and Rhea specifically, and Saggy give some really great critique. I think the expectations were too high, where the people are just going to mock it. If you just did it all in one announcement and just, I think he is real, but like put it like all there instead of, a lot of another big issue with the television is he always announces things that we're going to have an announcement, announcing the announcement. So people's imaginations go crazy. You're never ever going to be meaning that, and most likely it's going to disappoint someone or another potential laughing situation. Like,
Yes. So, I look at it from the investor's point of view. And I've received a lot, and I mean a lot of colorful comments from a lot of your friends that are hidden investors. By the way, I need to make this disclaimer. Okay.
mhm.
I hold stocks in many of the companies that we might talk about. Nothing I
Okay.
say is financial advice. And please know that if you buy any products of these companies, I'm probably going to make some money because my stock is going to go up. Okay. So that's my disclaimer shill that everybody should do that has invested even 1 cent in the company. Okay. So I need to do that before I say anything else, because everybody needs to take what I say with a grain of salt.
Yes.
So yeah.
Well, I didn't know some of my friends were investors. Like, I still don't know the facts on that. I really don't know who's an investor, who's not anymore. I really don't.
at this point, I think I've informed everybody who is. I don't have time, nor do I want to fight with everybody. That's up to them. If they want to violate FTC regulations or YouTube's terms of service, all I can do is tell them. That's up to them to do the right thing. But as adults, as grown men, they should know a lot better. I mean, that's my criticism to them. I'm not in that clique. I don't want to be in that clique.
Well, I know about disclosing products placed to you and things like that. Where I differ from everyone else is because I've done this for a while. My wife has too. When someone says, my subjective opinion is, though, once you disclose it in the one video, you don't have to say it in every single video. Like, say if you get in a television shirt and you have a video, if you have
you have to put at least in writing. That's per the FTC regulation. So you may not want to say it, but you have to put it somewhere in the description, right? That's if you look at and I put those on video, and I put the link. You can go up there and read them, right? And some of them are pretty broad. And I'm not saying that they're going to come after you, but if somebody, for example, doesn't like you, and he sees, especially in this environment, right, that we're in, especially in this specific topic, where you have so many eyes, where you have people looking to see for people making mistakes, you should really cross your T's and dot your I's. That's all I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. All right, cool. I think you give good criticism. I am really looking forward to everything. I was very happy for the battle. I guess we could get into the battle tanks conversation. I love the gameplay. I will preface with this. People are going to think I'm immediately a shill in saying that I'm making excuses for television in Amico. I do know it is an issue, just like you said. Like, some people don't know about FTC disclosures. Some of these indie developers, now ultimately it does rely. The buck stops with the television and Tommy for sure. But a lot of these indie developers, just like these part of the assets on the battle tanks, they don't cross their T's and dot their I's on this stuff, and then someone should double check that. I think they're not. I hope Intellivision and Tommy really know with these indie developers, you really have to check all their work. But this is not just isolated to Intellivision. There's been some other examples. There's one recent one that I could bring up right now. Just for example, I'm not gonna show the whole video here, but I've watched this way before, and it's a company that I really enjoy too. It's the ones that made Streets of Rage 4, and they're making Shredder's Revenge, and there's accusations of tracing from, if you could see the thumbnail there too.
Yeah.
From the April O'Neil character. If you could see, this blatant tracing of animation. This, unfortunately, do indie developers know that they're doing things like this isn't really copacetic, but I believe you really have to be careful with these young indie developers. I don't know if they necessarily know what they're doing is wrong. And also, me and Saggy have known some friends that have tried to do projects online, like motion comics and stuff. And some of the artists, you have to be very careful when you go online and get these young artists, and they don't necessarily know what they're doing is wrong. I don't think they intentionally do it, but you have to double check this stuff for sure. But
Well,
it's not isolated to Intellivision, though, really.
Not at all. And I can speak, I can speak to what I know, and this is the business side of it. Copyright infringement can only be determined by a court of law, right? They're the ones who say whether it happened or didn't. Does it look good? Absolutely not.
No.
Right?
Doesn't matter.
As a company, as a company that, So, for example, Intellivision knows that they're under the microscope.
Yes.
I mean, at this point, you have to know that as soon as you put something out, 10, 12 people are going to dissect it, right?
Mhm.
So my criticism towards the Intellivision company months ago, and this is months ago, you can go back and look at my video, and I said, your QC, your QA is not up to par. You need to fix it. I work in quality assurance, right?
Oh, okay.
So if just to give you an example, let's say I give my boss X product to go show to a client, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have certain standards I have to meet with that product, not only by double checking it, but my crew double checked it, yada, yada, yada. If it goes out there, right, and I give my boss a black eye by giving them a substandard product or a product that was not up to the expectations that were to be met at that presentation,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm going to get a huge shit. And the guy under me, his mother better have died or he's out of there, right? Because every time I deliver products that are non-conforming, it costs the company money, either by a black eye, by not making sales, or just getting a bad reputation. Mm-hmm. And when I say, I know a lot of people got offended when I said, this seems like an amateur operation, right? And what I meant is that it's not professional. It's like if you had a couple of college kids, hey, let's do video games like in the old days, and that was cool back then. But once you start raising money, right? Once you have investors, the bar is a lot higher, right? Because your responsibility, and I'm not being critical again of the man, so don't take it the wrong way. Your responsibility as a CEO is much, much different than it is as a salesperson or as a spokesman. That's why those jobs are divided, right? And we can talk about what those are and why, intermingling those things is really not a good idea in the long run.
Yeah. I will just say, as far as the tank debacle, as MIDI music likes to say, I like it, the tank debacle. Basically, what it comes down to is, like, I think at this point, we already know there are so many people out there that really are actively looking for Intellivision to slip up. So it's very crucial that they are moving forward very careful with everything they do now, because there are people really just looking for any opportunity to just be like, oh, look what they did now. So it's very important that they really are careful, and you're right. But I think where it comes with the, I guess, pro Amico people, right? They say, well, we're making excuses. It's like, here's the thing. It's not that we're making excuses. We're just being understanding and forgiving, understanding that this is a new company. There are a lot of hiccups, and they have to learn. They have to make mistakes for them to grow and get better. Obviously, if they're trying to sell something, I get it from a business perspective. I've owned a business myself as well, so I can understand 100%. But also, as somebody who was new owning a business, I also had to kind of change the way, because I went from being an employee to an employer. So I had to change my entire look on how businesses are running, because now I'm the person running it. I'm not working for it, I'm running it. So I'm more understanding and forgiving, because I was a first-time business owner who had to go through those same mistakes and steps, being unprofessional, learning how to be professional, making mistakes, so I learned how to fix them. So I guess in a way, it's like we're not really defending the company. We're trying to understand and be like, listen, we want to give you room to grow. Yes, you're making mistakes, but we know you can be better. We know you can get better. If you take some of the things that some of the critics are saying, like, you make good points. If you take some of that criticism, okay, what did we learn? Well, Gen X Gamer made a video giving us examples on where we messed up and how we can be better. Cool. Maybe we can go do that moving forward. And that's why I say I like your content, because you are, when people look at you, Pro Amico, be like, oh, this guy's a jerk. He's just dunking on this and he hates it. It's like, I don't see that. I see you trying to say, I have experience in this. This is my experience. This is how I think you should have done it. I think that this is wrong. I don't think, and I think that's fair. You know, and I think that's why I was so happy that you were going to come here, because of all the people in this, your channel, your thoughts on it. It's not hate, it's criticism, it's constructive criticism, and it comes from your experience in the industry.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think in general, you know, if you're asking me what my opinion, for example, of the company is, I think you have a good idea that's being poorly executed, right? I think that his initial idea for the console wouldn't appeal to the market that he's trying to attract. And the reason is this, and you guys know this from experience: people are more loyal to their cell phone plans than they are to their partners, right? So if you're trying to sell cell phone games to my kids' generation, right? Because that's who he's marketing to. He's marketing to eventually, right? My kids. My kids have kids, right? I'm a grandfather, and you know they buy Nintendo and they buy PlayStation. That's what they buy. But if they're able to play something else together on their cell phones, because now my grandkids are playing on tablets, right? So this is why one of the reasons investors, for example, push so hard for software rather than hardware, because if you had a family connect through their cell phones through, say, a Intellivision service, right, it would be more profitable. You don't have to deal with hardware, and you can shoot right away from the hip. The Retro Reimagined console, the one he's pushing, is more for guys like me. I can understand how people don't like battle tanks, and that's why I made the video, because I play combat. I would love battle tanks, but there is no way in heck that my grandson would play it. That's too simple for him. Or even my son. My son grew up with a PlayStation. My son is probably about your guys' age, right? But that doesn't mean that Intellivision can't make money. Are those ideas out there for them? I don't know, right? I don't know. But if I was an investor, right, and you've heard, I think, a couple of the employees say a couple of things to this effect: investors want software. They're not really in love with the hardware part of it, and that would be true for many game companies, just like Sega had to turn around at once and say, we're going into software.
I also think there's an added level of scrutiny upon Tommy, even though I don't want to keep saying I'm a huge fan and I'm supporting him. I want him to succeed, but he's also very aggressive towards his IP, like with the oof sound, with his music samples. So this is why this specific situation is more. I understand why people are criticizing him so much on this specific thing. You really have to be careful with other people's IP, even if it's your indie developers developing it. They need to do a checklist on these indie developers. Are your assets all yours, or can you provide proof of this for all the future games? I don't want to ever see this again, really. Like if we give them a pass here, Saggy, we don't want to see this again. This can't happen again for another deep dive. And I'm part of the problem though, because I like seeing in progress games, but still I don't want to see another thing like this with assets that are totally 100% triple checked. I'm sorry. I'm rooting for. I think the game looks legit. I'm really excited to actually play the game, but something so simple like this. And I really do think it comes down to the indie game developer. I'm not pushing on them. I'm just think this is a known issue with indie game developers.
You can't say that you're not pushing on them and then say it's it.
No, I'm not.
I love your backs, but I'm going to call you out on that one, because here's the thing.
No,
I understand what you're saying, and the thing that like people say,
but that's why he's getting more criticism because he did go
but
to,
this is what I'm saying.
His IP with the
but this is what I'm saying. People are in the you're making excuses. It's not excuses. Excuses. I'm giving reasons why my thought of this situation is people make mistakes. It is a new business. They're going to make mistakes. Is it ideal?
Yeah, but no, it can't happen again.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Like when people ask me, "Oh, do you think the Amico? What's going to happen? The Amico has another delay." I was like, "No, it can't have another delay. It has to come out next year. It has to come out next year, or game over." Yeah, honestly, that's just and that's not me being a jerk. I love Tommy, and I know Tommy's going to see this. It's not like and he knows this. It will be game over because their delay you're kind of hanging on to a thread. A fourth one is not going to fly.
Well, I said if it keeps getting delayed, they have to redesign the console for current and maybe take some of the features out of the controller just to keep the games, get it to market with a simpler controller that's going to bring down costs so they could just manufacture quick. That's what I said. If they can't get it out next year, I'm very disappointed that it's not coming out till next year. Like
everybody was. That's why it needs to come out next year.
You know what, guys? Here's a criticism that I made that I know pissed a lot of people off, but it's actually the evidence bears it, right? So when they made their second delay, they already knew they weren't going to make the third one based on the state of the games, right? Based on the state of the markets. One of the problems, and this is a criticism on the organization, right? Because it's gotten, when Tommy first started, if you've ever watched, for example, my tag video, my opinion was based on, you had here Tommy was making his console and he was doing all it on his own, yada, yada, yada. Great. At that point, you can make all the mistakes you want. You're playing with your own money. You're playing with your own investments. Once you start putting your hand out, right, and asking people for money, the role of the CEO is very different than the role of the spokesperson and the role of the salesman. When you're a business owner, you wear many hats, right? And if you would have kept it down to him, not asking for any investments, my tone would be a lot different, right? But because those roles are different, the role of the spokesperson is to be out there, putting the product in the best light possible, right? The salesperson, he sells. Both of those people have to bullshit by nature. I've been a salesperson. I can tell you that because you have to put your company in the best light possible. I made a whole video on how to be a Nintendo shill, right? Instead of saying, for example, we're going to increase the price, I'll say, this is an investment in the future, right? To make you feel better, but it's bullshit, right? But that's what you do. The role of the CEO is very, very different. And this is where he runs into trouble, I think, of trying to do everything himself, because it seems to me like he micromanages based on what other people in the company have said. But the role of the CEO is just one, right? And it's the most important one. And this is the reason why CEOs get paid so much money. They're basically paid to predict where the market is going and to protect investors' money and to make it grow. That's their only job. It's not presenting products. It's not going out there talking to people. It's not doing any of those things, which is nice of him, by the way. I don't know him as a person. I've never criticized him as a person. I don't know what he's like. And I really don't want to, because then I would lose objectivity in my criticisms.
Okay.
But as a CEO, that's your job. Where's the market going? How am I going to make money for my investors? How do I keep the company moving forward? But when you intermix all that, then you have problems, because now you have people talking smack to the CEO. I mean, nobody at my work, for example, is going to go talk straight to the owners of the company and talk smack to them, because there's 50 people in between. And let's say something did go wrong, right? There's like 17 people to blame in the middle. He's up there making important decisions. He's not going to be out there changing the toilet paper or greeting, people as they walk in the door. So I think, at some point, those things need to be separated for this business to move forward. But at this point, a lot of the criticisms that are being laid specifically towards the operation of the company are very fair.
Yeah. I don't want to interrupt you at all, but I have to cover this, Leo DS. I'm not ignoring you, but this is kind of like, I hope you have an Amico day, man. But this is why I don't particularly want to talk to you. We're talking about other stuff, and you're talking about frames. If you're arguing about frames per second on the Amico, we're missing the point. It's not that type of console. I mean, yeah, it has to be there. It can't be laggy. But what are we still talking about controls laggy for? This is like, there's way more important issues than this. I hope you have a great day, man. I don't understand why you're bringing this up.
I've never spoken on the games or the console because I haven't played it. I wouldn't do that for the Nintendo, right? I wouldn't judge a game
I
that
do
I
want to
haven't
have
played.
a positive part of this section or of this interview with you too, Generation, to say we actually have a lot in common. We're gamers. We like to collect. We're hoarders, like you said. And there's some great things about the Amico. The games, I think some of the Retro Reimagined are really great. There's some great stuff going on there.
Oh
Not
yeah, I mean for specifically for guys my age, I mean it's like candy, but the fact that we don't see them is frustrating. You know what I'm saying? The fact that I don't see Cloudy Mountain specifically, it just frustrates me because I know that
yes,
would be an awesome game to see live,
right.
or get a chance to play.
I've been asking consistently to play Night Stalker.
Oh yeah,
And,
yeah.
and
Also,
I can't make excuses as to why. I mean, when we first got the first image of Night Stalker with that awesome, I think Tommy worked on the soundtrack. I played that video so many times just listening to the song, the reimagined Night Stalker. I don't know why people haven't played it yet. I'm not making accusations or like that he's hiding it. I just don't know why. Maybe he just wants closer to launch. He just wants people to experience it then. And the other thing is, you kind of want some things to be fresh when the console comes out too. But I honestly don't know. I do think out of everything that's been announced since the start, I think half these games are not going to be out for a while, or very early development, or just a thought and
which is kind of a shame. I think that
well,
even
honestly, it's a money problem too, because they do have to get some income started coming in. They can't just put money into everything they wanted to do when the console's not even out yet. But I really think half the games they announced at the beginning, it's going to be a while before you get them. I don't think a lot of work's been done.
I think even the most fervent Amico supporters can agree with me on this. This console should have been launched with the retro gamers, specifically my age, around there, in mind, because we would have paid top dollar for the games, right? If you look at my early videos, I said, you're missing out on this price point is shit. It's terrible. You should make them $29.95 for a cart, right? Some sort of physical whatever, collectors, and you can really ride the backs of the retro gaming community, the old man cringe community, if you will, for a lot of dollars, because we have the money to spend, right? I spend money on crazy shit, right? And we would spend that kind of money, but they just didn't do it. And you see it, for example, in the investors, right? You see these investors that are quick to jump into any conversation to, shit on you for whatever. I have a list of my favorite comments, from bottom dweller to all kinds of things that they've called me, but they don't even support their own console.
I think
right?
Saggy's. I didn't want to interrupt you, but I think everyone loves Ben Silverpong. I don't think any. I think everyone wants to talk to him. I recently became acquainted with his channel. Sorry, man, I didn't mean to interrupt.
So you don't see them, especially when the sales of the game slowed down. You would think they're the ones promoting it, the ones doing giveaways. Hey, by the way, I still have that giveaway. Guys, you can win one of these. Except for Finnegan Fox. You know what? Finnegan Fox, I think Tony's still in the lead.
Oh,
all
no.
you have to do,
I got the first one.
yeah, but for the contest for Finnegan Fox, you have to say what you're going to do with it, and whoever gets the most amount of comments wins. And I think Tony's in the lead still right now for this one. For the rest, all you have to do is comment on your favorite 80s song.
Can
right?
I ask you a question?
Sure.
Is Finnegan Fox the most popular title of all those physical medias you got?
Yes, absolutely.
I figured. See, and everyone says nobody likes Finnegan Fox. Everyone goes straight for the Finnegan Fox one.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a love-hate relationship. I mean, it had the most amount of views. I didn't sell all three of them because I had offers for Finnegan Fox from Brazil, of all places. I guess they don't.
That's random.
Yeah, but yeah, I could have sold three. I just didn't want to break them up because I wanted to put one in the one in the contest. The other one's mine. But I have 4 sets altogether, by the way. 4.
You got a lot of those guns.
Hey, DJC.
What up, DJC? Can I ask you another question? Because
Sure.
So I know we talk, and you know that I've been to 2 of the events. Do you think? Because I think this is what Intellivision should be doing. I think they really do need to be doing more of these events. Do you think that these events
Awesome.
are beneficial to the company? Do you think that these events are probably something that could maybe save them from from the criticism, or at least giving people opportunity to test it firsthand? Do you think that would help?
Well, to tell you the truth, the what's hurting it is that Tommy's there to micromanage it, right? Because if it's that simple, why do I need somebody to explain to me how to play it, right? It
Right.
would be different. It would be different if you set up kiosk. And this is another criticism that I had, right? You can make up a kiosk, a professional looking kiosk that you can put somewhere. And I mean, paint it, stainless steel, wheels, beautifully done for about $5,000. Put a machine in there with 1 game, 2 games, whatever it is, and put it in GameStop and let people play it. As a matter of fact, don't even put the controllers in there. Have them do it with their cell phone. Then you can get genuine reactions from people all over the country, right? You can make, say 20 of these, or make 5 and just put them in the big cities. It'll cost you $25,000 plus the consoles that you put in there, and put them in popular spots around the country and let people play them just like Nintendo did back in the day. But Tommy can't either. I understand, that he wants to be proud of his product, whatever that is. I don't know. I don't know the man to criticize.
I think if you do that, you put it at risk for someone getting a hold of it that's going to just tear it down, and it'd be a mockery. Again, I don't,
Oh no, you can lock them down.
So Gen X,
yeah, but I don't know.
You would have to weld that out.
Also, the point of where the founders still don't have any date of when they're going to get theirs. I agree with you when it's becoming more available and there's more firm release dates, and when people are going to, then I could see rationalizing putting demo units in stores. But at this point, when you can't even fulfill your pre-orders, it's still limited to consoles that are going to be made at first. I would say every unit counts to get to the actual consumer.
You need more.
Yeah.
You need more pre-orders. At this point,
true.
we can only confirm 6,000, right? If you would put it out there, if you put it out there, you get more interest. Now, if this thing launches, for example, with, I don't know, and not that I've heard anything, but just let's pretend that it launches with Earthworm Jim, then it's a whole different ball of wax. I mean, that would change the dynamic a lot. But at this point, I don't know.
Well, I was going to say, going back to that, when you say that, having, these games are supposed to be simple, but Tommy's explaining it, are you basing this on the videos you've seen, like from the events that we've shown in our videos? Is that what you're basing that comment on?
Yes, because it gives you a biased opinion, right? So even you guys, right? I don't know Tommy, right? And even though you don't realize it, sometimes when you do make comments, it's because you'll have a bias towards him being your friend, right? And that's natural. That's not, that's not anything on you guys. It's just something that humans do. Right. You'll tend to be more forgiving when you know somebody, right? But I've said this before. When somebody's really your friend, you tell them what they need to know, not what they want to hear. It's my criticism, for example, to the investors. They're telling Tommy that he's doing okay, that everything's rah-rah, fine, this and that and the other. And they always look for the best, excuse or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
When they should be saying is, look, you can do this, that, or the other. But can you imagine going into the Costco, for example, and they give you free samples, and have somebody there, standing going, no, this is how you do this. This is, oh yeah, they do that with knives and shit like that. So then becomes a different experience. Then you're the ShamWow guy. You're not a CEO. That's why I say these are different roles. He really needs to separate those. If he wants to be the spokesperson, go ahead. If that's your gig, he feels comfortable with people, he wants to this. Okay, great. Then somebody else has to make the other decisions that right now are, that you and I and everybody else can see are going wrong.
Right. So the thing
I have to say this. I'm not calling anyone a hobber, but I look like a giant. I look like we're filming Lord of the Rings with goddamn Gandalf. Because the way that's why I was doing this. I don't look so huge. Oh, I do kind of still look huge. What's up? It's my fault.
Camera, I think.
Well, I was gonna ask too, because
look, I'm giant.
That is a good point, Gen X, because it's like I can explain because the reason why I asked you that question is because like I can explain why you see Tommy explaining the games, but that's the problem, right? Is because what people are viewing when we're talking about the Amico, when we're at these events, there's a lot of stuff that can be explained. So like if you look at my last the Boston event, one of the streams, somebody asked about one of the controllers, the LED light wasn't on. And I noticed that, and because I was showing it in my brain at that moment, I was like, okay, I know this is going to be asked. This is going to be talked about. This is going to be a question that people are going to be like, oh, did you notice the Amico controller? It's broken, blah, blah, blah. So I asked on the stream, I said, hey, Tommy, do you know why this controller is not lit up or what's going on with it? Like it still works. It's just the LED lights aren't working. What's going on? And then he explained it. And that's when people got the context. Like, okay, it did the updated firmware on that specific controller because these are the dev kits of the consoles that come out. But again, this is all information that is not being told to explain it at the time, so people would just say, oh well, this must mean it doesn't work. So I guess what I'm saying is it's kind of difficult for us, I guess, as the YouTubers who are part of the Amico cult, to give that context, I guess, or maybe we should be doing that more often.
What happens is, look, what happens is people are hired to do these things, right? So you as a YouTuber, ideally what would happen is he would hire YouTubers, because there's a lot of YouTubers out there, and I've said this before, that will change their tune if you gave them money, right? If Tommy had paid off a lot of these guys before this thing launched, can you imagine the reaction? It'd be a lot different. They'd be singing its praises, because they would have a partnership or, sponsorship, whatever the hell they want to call it. But that's where you would hire people and prepare them, right? So when you do these events, say, somebody hires Saggy or whoever, right? You come into the office, we're going to prepare you for every eventuality. This is what the machine does. This is what could happen. These are the games you're going to play. This is what you're going to say. These are our official statements, right? Because there's questions you're not going to be able to answer. And you can say, well, this is what we're at this point. I will take, your question into consideration and ask the front office, and I will get back to you, right? Those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
But that's usually how that's handled. You don't have the CEO and everything done at the last minute type of stuff, right? This is a dog and pony show that should be set up. So for example, if I was in charge of doing this, right, and say that I was going to go on with this travel show everywhere, I would have the exact consoles I was using tested with whatever games, even if it was just 2 games, right? I would have the setup, the people trained, right? What was going to happen? What happens if something malfunctions? All that written down. You have a set of work instructions. Believe it or not, these are things that people pay for. They write everything down and they'll tell you what to do in every instance. Somebody gets out of hand or somebody breaks a controller. All this is written down and you're trained to that. But that's a professional setting. And that's what we're not seeing here. And that's why you run into those sort of troubles. It shouldn't be up to you, right? It shouldn't be up to you to explain these things to people.
That's true.
It should be the company being prepared.
Puts us in a weird situation. Yeah. I do want to say I think there still are a lot of positives too with these games. A lot of these games look like they're going to be a lot of fun. I played a lot of these games. Saggy has too. I actually can't wait for you to get your hands on them, Generation X.
I mean, I could tell you that the games that I like, right?
Mm-hmm.
The games that I like.
Please share that. Yes.
Yeah, the games that I've seen that I want to play are Flying Tigers.
Yes.
Right? I really like the aesthetics of that game. Mm-hmm. Right? Rigid Force, Redux. Believe it or not, I do want to play Finnegan Fox. I have Fox and Forest. I've been playing that just to see what the difference is. I don't like judging something before I play it.
That's exactly my reason. Sorry.
Yeah. And there's a couple other ones, the Retro Reimagined. But I have to say this. Look, I play, for example, the Sega Saturn constantly, mm-hmm. right?
Mm-hmm.
And my son will walk in and go, "Dad, that looks like shit." Right? And to his eyes, it does. He grew up with a PS1, a PS2, right? So some of the graphics on some of the games for the Saturn are not great. Even the TV that I play on is not 4K on purpose, because I use older connections so I can play the Dreamcast and the Xbox One. So I'm not playing, not even at sometimes I'm playing at 720p or 480p. I don't need to have the latest and greatest, but that's me. right? Your guys, for example, you guys that are gamers, if you're playing Apex Legends, for example, or some other, shooter, your
Yay.
expectations of graphics are going to be a lot different than mine
Right.
and the old man cringe community, right? So I might be okay with it, but for a younger gamer to see a game, like Battle Tanks, for example, and go, oh, what the fuck is that? I completely understand it, because for them that game would not be fun, nor something they would pick up. And I explained this in my video. Me and my buddies would still play combat, at a later age, right? And we would make a drinking game out of it, right? Like every time somebody dies, you fucking take a shot, drink beers, 2-on-2, all kinds of shit. But because we have, a fondness for the game, not because it looks great. So for a younger generation, those kind of games would not work.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I also want to say too, we have been we have told Tommy of our concerns as well, but I think that just gets completely like thrown under the rug sometimes when it comes to things that we don't disagree on Tommy with. Sometimes like we'll be like, oh well, we understand this, you're excusing it, you don't criticize him enough. We're like, we do though. It's like we do, because we have a relationship with him. It's just how we criticize him isn't as harsh as some other people would. Like if I was not a big fan of the E3 event. That still to this day is my biggest pet peeve, is his E3 presentation, because I was like, Tommy, I know this was meant for new people who are being introduced to it, it's an introductory video, but you should have had something there for the people who have been following this and are fans. I mean, you should have had something new for us to get excited for, because we were excited that he got that platform to be part of the E3 event. We were excited for him. We were happy. We were like, yay, finally the Amico's getting a spotlight. And then there was nothing there for us. And we did tell him these things, and he did take that in, and he explained why. But we were like, yeah, but still, Tommy, like we wanted to see some like gameplay, maybe Earthworm Jim or something else. Like Earthworm Jim would have been the best way to go for the E3 event, because that would have definitely got people excited about it. But yeah, we do criticize. We do give him criticism.
I don't even think we're not even having the same conversations. We're just, because we really are for the console, for Tommy, want to support him, that we're not as hyperbolic when he makes a mistake. Like there's really exaggerations, like this is the end of the world. Yeah, it's not a good look.
Yeah.
This whole recent event is not a good look. I'm happy about the gameplay. I'm happy about the actual game. I think it's an easy fix, but I would prefer that time going to something else instead of fixing assets for Battle Tanks. And I'm really looking forward to that game. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. But I think we are actually having the same conversations. It's just where you end up on the fence, the side you are, you're exaggerating certain things. I think we are. I've been very consistent with my criticism on it. Like just like Saggy said, that E3 video too. One of the first times I had Classy Gaming Pete come on, where the first times was really critical. I'm like, I'm giving this a bad grade for this presentation. One of the first ones where they had the Wii lady, where they just had photoshopped Amico controllers in the hands. I'm like, this is really cringe. I know you can do it. I know industry does do it. It does not land well. It looks so obviously photoshopped. And this
I think,
yeah.
I mean, if you really want to think about the point where Intellivision Entertainment was really not performing to a lot of the supporters' expectations, was when OEB Pete quit doing his updates. When OEB Pete started saying, hey, you shouldn't say anything until it's going to come out, I think that's when a lot of people started saying, wow, even if they disappointed this guy, they have to be doing something that's wrong, right? Because he tries to be positive on everything.
Right.
I mean, it's not a channel for me, but if you disappointed him, you really, really, missed out on something, because he'll give everything the benefit of the doubt. He'll buy everything, and then put it in a positive light. But if you got him to do criticism, then that you really fumbled the ball at some point.
Well, I also think that a lot of my friends inside the pro Amico bubble that are really friends, or even investors, I don't know who's an investor or not. I haven't really asked. But this is a guy that follows this just from the outside, has no has no reason to, and so like also with Lunga too, we have to understand that the overall perception of this console, whether you think it's fair or not, is people think there's a lot of mistakes. We have to address that when we're considering talking to people that are critics of this thing. They have the majority opinion. The majority opinion is that there's some big mistakes. So really understand where you're at, and that's the way to move forward.
I mean, to me, the biggest criticism, and let me say this, just because I know a lot of them are on my age, and I'm really disappointed in their behavior, especially because I don't know them from a hole in the wall. These guys, hang around in cliques and shit. I can go around by myself. I don't need to be friends with anybody, right? It doesn't validate me to be friends with somebody that likes the same console as me or plays the same games as me. But their behavior online has really accentuated a lot of the problems that you're talking about, because they'll defend sometimes the indefensible. And it's not for the reasons of Tommy's my friend. It's for the reason that they're trying to protect their buck.
The tribe.
Right? So if you're trying to protect your buck, right, then say it. Be honest. You're saying, hey, you know what? I don't want to miss out on my, whatever amount of money I invested, whatever that is. I think if you want to say, look, I invested in this company and I don't care if I lose my money because I admired Tommy, that's fine. That's not a problem. But when you're pumping up this company, when it's raising money at the time, right? So you have to remember, they're fundraising right now. They're asking for investments right now. And you don't disclose that, right? You don't disclose that? That's unethical. Forget about the legality of stuff. I wouldn't trust anybody who did that, period. I wouldn't watch your channel again, because you're not only protecting your investment under the guise of being somebody's friend, right? And then you're trying to cover up mistakes, because the only way that you're going to get your money back is if you get more investors on board. And to make people think that this is a great investment for a 10x, for example, is disingenuous. The math doesn't bear it out. Like I said, it's okay if you want to invest because he's your friend, right? At best, you might get your money back, right, based on the numbers, but nobody in their right mind, having with Xbox personnel on staff, would think that the Intellivision is going to sell 25 million consoles in 3.5 years. That is
not unless like Earthworm Jim 4 is right there. And
not even then. You're talking about surpassing the original Xbox.
Okay.
You couldn't do it. It just you don't have the numbers to do it. You don't have the production capacity to do it, right? You at 3 years you barely be getting there. So, that's my problem with these guys. I don't even want to pretend as an adult that I'm going to engage with them. Somebody that's younger that doesn't know about investing, I'll have a little bit more leeway with. But a lot of these guys should know better, and they don't care. They just keep on, spilling their bullshit.
Kelly, stop it. Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair enough. Well, we have, I don't know how much pressed you are for time to just give people like a 10-minute warning, I guess, unless you want to go longer or.
I can go another 10 minutes. Yeah, I just have a dinner I have to prep for tomorrow morning for the stock market. But I can't see the questions. If anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
So far, the chat is all in favor of you, so that's a good thing.
I can't see it.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I can't see it, so I have to rely on you guys
to highlight it.
No, that's fine. Yeah, no, I like I said, this is why I started tuning in. I understand the criticism. I've always have, but you it is kind of put you in a tricky situation, because like on one hand, you're just somebody who, I support people that I think are good people, and I will always do that. And that's why, like I said, that's why I support you. You are a good person, and I don't always have to agree, but that's why when you had that up, I was like, if anyone else put that Finnegan Fox thing on eBay, I wouldn't have bothered. I wouldn't have cared, But when you put it up, you said it was for charity. I was like, it's Gen X game. I like him. I will support him, because I do like that you of all people do bring a logical reason behind how you feel and your feelings about this situation. That's why I watch you, and that's why I like watching some of these YouTubers out here who are speaking, from that other side of the conversation. And
Yeah.
it just puts us in like a weird bubble sometimes, where it's like, yeah, we want the Amico to be successful. We played it, we know what it does, we like it. It's just there are a lot of things that are happening that we do see, and it's like, do we want this thing to flop? Heck no. But yeah,
Yeah.
you make good criticisms.
There's a lot specifically on this, and I'll tell you why I specifically bought this, and I just wanted it to do a couple of things. Is there's a lot of vocal supporters out there that didn't do this. That if Tommy was really their friend, they should be pumping these out and giving them to people so they can see whether or not they're worth it or not. Right now, am I saying that they're could be worth it? I'm speculating, right? Because if this thing, for example, is they put it on a blockchain that's based on Ethereum, for example, it's going to be worth, it's going to be worth money, right? But with all the criticisms that can be leveled against the company, and for example, there's a lot of people that say this could be a scam. If it was a scam, it's probably one of the worst ways to do it. If you want to lose a lot of money on both sides, right. I think it's just not having experience, by the way. But if anybody should call anybody else a scammer, you know who shouldn't be? It shouldn't be guys that push things on Patreon and constantly ask people for money on Patreon, because they sell something that has absolutely no value. There isn't shit that I can do with a podcast that I can listen a day early. There isn't anything that I can do with anything that usually these retro YouTubers give you on Patreon. But I know I can sell this, for $1, $5. This has some sort of value to somebody, right? Are they selling like hotcakes? No. And even though Intellivision deserves a lot of, I'm sorry. And even though Intellivision, even though Intellivision, deserves a lot of criticism, should the guys that ask for their hospital bills to be paid, should they be the ones to be criticizing? Should the guys that are asking for taxes to be paid, or I need this rent money, or it shouldn't be that, right? It shouldn't be those guys. I think there's the customers should more than have a voice, but they make these statements like, oh, this has no value. Well, I did it to shut them up. Now there's a value, right? It's probably not the value you want. It's not hundreds of dollars, but it does have value to somebody.
I will say,
thanks. We've got a little bit of heat there from Generation. I kind of know where you were going. That,
but no, I will say, business stuff aside, I will say the Amico itself, the console, it is a great console. I have a PlayStation 5. I'm not into retro games. I've said this numerous times, but I did happen to enjoy what this console is trying to do. I do think the console works. The controllers are good. The controls are very durable. It is a great idea. And again, the business perspective on the side of it, just looking at what the product is itself. Overall, it is a good product. I do understand, like I said, what Gen X is saying, the business aspect could be done a little bit better in certain areas. 100% can agree with you there. But the product itself, I do feel like, especially with all this controversy, Gen X, by the way, if y'all didn't see Gen X Gamer's last video, I'm just going to talk about that real quick.
Channel.
Yeah, we're pimping the because he made a very great point in his last video that I have to talk about. He said that this whole Amico thing should be a documentary. And I was like, when he said that, and
I said that.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Like, he said it should be
the next
a documentary.
Tiger King.
Right.
He should contact Netflix.
And that's right, but that was a good idea. And the reason why is because he said that there are a lot of interesting, like the one thing we take about the Amico, there are a lot of interesting people that are just coming out the woodwork. We have all these people on both sides talking about this, and it would make a good show. And I think somebody asked me the other day when I was on stream, they said, do you think the Amico will sell? And I said, you know what? The first year when this launches, oh yeah, I think this thing's gonna sell a lot of units because of everyone's talking about it. So even people who don't like it, they might buy it because they're like, I want to see how bad this thing really is, So I think the first year, but now we got to talk about the longevity.
Yeah, I said Tony's Carol Baskins right away.
Tony would be Carol Baskins.
Tony is the Carol Baskins to Tommy's Tiger King.
Tony 100% will be Carol Baskin. Yes, somebody, we gotta meme that. We gotta meme that.
Yeah. You know, at some point, you know, what's going to happen is that uh, you might get what's called well, it's called different things, but let's just call it the hater effect for this conversation. And it's when people that don't like a product overtake it so much, right? And they say this is shit, this is shit, this is shit. Instead of getting to the particulars, I try not to you know overstate things, because I really want to be specific to what I'm criticizing. Because if you just make broad statements, at some point people stop listening, right? If you just say, you know, everybody at Intellivision sucks all the time, and every game sucks, and everything they do sucks, at some point people just become numb to it, right?
Right.
So if that's all that's heard, and the Intellivision comes out, say, and let's say they put out a game that's semi decent and fun for people, that bar has been set so low that anything positive is like, wow, you know, all these guys were wrong about everything because one game is good, you know, so they could drive it the other way around. Not saying that that's going to happen. I'd much rather see, you know, professional PR firm handle their business, but I don't see that happening, to tell you the truth. I think Tommy is a micromanager, which is probably not the best way to operate, but it's his business. He gets to do what he wants.
All right. Any last advice we should share for our friends in the pro Amico community and Tommy? Because I think we're all here, and don't get it twisted. This man wants them to succeed. I think too. Even though he's critical,
Well,
you would be happy if Amico succeeds at television and get
well,
things
I
right.
think, yeah, I think the product, you know, is geared to the wrong masses. You know, I think it should be, you know, more geared to the retro community, to guys like me. And if somebody else wants to play, that would be great. That would temper expectations, right? And you could build on that, right? Because what's better, to sell 100,000 games at $10, or should you sell 50,000 games at $30? Make more money, right?
Mhm.
You can raise the prices. So, but you know, like I said, they're not going to.
But what I'm trying to get you to say though is you do want this to succeed though. You want them, even though you're very critical of some of the public relations and
Well, yeah,
and where they're
the
marketing. You
reason,
want them. Yeah.
if you looked, you know, and I'll go back because I know many people don't even watch my pin video, right? And my part of what I'm going to say here, because it's not family friendly, but the first time that I played Intellivision, I got laid. That was my first.
Wait,
that was
wait, hold on, pause. So, like, we need to definitely hit that story after you're done talking, because, like, where do you go from, like, hey, baby, you want to play television and get freaky?
No. It wasn't like that at all. It was.
That's a rarity.
It was.
Playing the original television, getting laid. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but let me say this: it wasn't because of the Intellivision.
Okay.
My friends back in high school, in my early days, they wanted me to go to a party, right? And I'm still a kid, basically, even though I was older.
Here's hoping for when the Amico comes out, you have a reap.
So, you know, I go to this party, right? And it turns out to be a pool party. And I thought it was just going to be my friends and I, and they told me there was an Intellivision there. That's how they got me to go, right? Mm-hmm. And, you know, I was up there, and it was like, I think like 2:00 or something. We got there, and I saw it. And this dude had, you know, he was in the better side of our neighborhood. And the Intellivision, when it came out, was like the PlayStation 5. It was the expensive console. Everybody had Ataris, but if you had an Intellivision, you had money. I mean, it was an expensive console. And he had a lot of games. So I was there, you know, and at some point everybody left, right? Everybody took off, and I was the only one left playing. I remember that my friend, we were playing football, and he kicked my ass or whatever, but I kept playing the Intellivision on my own because I was really into video games. I've always been. And my friend kept saying, you got to come down. You kind of got to come down. So when I eventually went down, it was a party, right? It was a party with booze. It was a pool party. It was a high school pool party. They had invited girls. And the only way these girls could come is if their sisters brought them over, right? Their sisters had cars. Remember, this is like my freshman year. Yeah, it was my freshman year summer, right? So now I'm in this party with, you know, girls in bikinis, girls in bathing suits, and there's booze. And, you know, I was really kind of nerdy. I never done any of this shit, right? The only thing that made me cool at that point is that I started growing a beard already, right?
All right. Ladies like
Yeah.
the beard.
So, yeah. So eventually, you know, I sat there and I was holding a cooler, I remember.
I don't know if
alcohol.
this is coming with my founder's edition. I don't know. I have to read the extra stuff. Do
So,
I get a pool party
yeah.
with bikinis? Okay.
Yeah. So I'm holding a cooler, and this girl came up to me and started talking to me, and I was just like, oh my God, you know, this is the most beautiful woman that I've ever seen, or whatever. And I'm trying to play it cool there with my cooler. To make a long story short, you know, she picked me. She said she liked beers and stuff, and yeah, it was awesome, right? So that was my connection. And you guys can go watch my video. It's called Fast Times at Amico High.
Right? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't check that one out. All right. Yeah. Now I want.
So that was my whole connection. So I always wished them well, but you know, I mean, there's too many mistakes for having 600 years of experience, right? Okay. You can have the 600 years of experience, but you have to listen to those people, right? Because they've been on camera, you know, disagreeing with some of Tommy's decisions. But at some point, if he doesn't listen to them, that experience is not going to be worth anything.
All right. Well, I think we.
All right, guys.
Yeah, we have to wind down because you're a busy man. Thank you for being on, and hopefully you'll come back. Maybe we'll have Rhea.
All right, guys. Remember the giveaway. Go get your. You have to go that specific video though, and just comment your favorite 80s song.
Oh,
and you can have a chance to win the Amico games.
Amico games. All right, the boxed edition.
Boxed
edition games.
Yes,
that's a great giveaway. I have.
All right, guys.
So I'm not.
Thank you for having me.
Oh
no, thank you for being here. It was awesome.
We'll collab again. We'll get a great discussion, and let us know if you ever want to precipitate on your channel as well. Everyone said you're fire. You're fire.
Yeah,
okay.
I don't know how to do those things. I can barely turn on the camera. I can barely do this.
Oh, exposed. Yeah. Gen X gamer.
Fake YouTuber.
Yeah, I
don't know what I'm doing.
Do the videos after work, you know, with my old camera and my laptop, and that's it.
All right. Well, everyone's happy.
All right, guys.
All right. Goodbye, everyone.
Have a great evening.
You too.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Bye-bye.